Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Today, we're doing a fascinating deep dive into a place that, well, I think it's often seen through a very specific
Right,
lens.
a lot of general perceptions, but not a lot of detail on the lived reality.
Exactly. We're pulling straight from firsthand accounts of people living and working there right now to figure out what daily life is actually like for an expat in major Saudi Arabian cities.
And our mission here is really practical. We want to synthesize those accounts, distill the honest truth about the key adjustments, the surprising cultural bits, and the big economic benefits.
We want to give you the operational manual, not just the postcard.
That's a good way to put it.
So we've structured this around three core areas. First, the cultural welcome and, personal safety.
Mm-hmm.
Second, the workplace. That whole high-stakes, multicultural environment, and of course, the money.
A big incentive.
And third, something I find really interesting, the late-night rhythm of city life in places like Riyadh and Jeddah.
It's a completely different clock.
It is. So let's jump in immediately with that first impression. What hits people right when they arrive?
Okay, so the consensus across the source material is, honestly, it's striking.
How so?
The first thing that registers is the atmosphere of the local people. They're consistently described as incredibly warm.
Warm, polite, calm. That's the vibe.
Exactly. Warm, polite, calm, and very respectful.
And that initial demeanor, that sense of respect, I imagine that translates into something really practical.
It does. It translates into what the sources describe as an overwhelming sense of personal safety.
More so than other places.
Many accounts call it one of the safest environments they have ever lived in, globally.
Wow. And is that because of, a heavy security presence or something else?
It seems to be something deeper, more foundational. The sources suggest it's a mix of cultural norms and a pretty swift legal response to crime.
So you just don't see the kind of petty crime or street harassment that's common in other big cities.
You really don't.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates this foundational sense of peace in your daily routine.
Okay, that's a powerful base to build a life on. So from safety, let's talk social interaction. Hospitality comes up a lot.
It's paramount. And the sources are clear. This isn't a passive idea. It's an active, daily thing.
What does that look like in practice?
It means that if you're engaging with locals, even just for a moment in a business context, you should be prepared to be offered Arabic coffee and dates.
Right away.
Almost immediately. It's just a core part of the social contract. And, refusing it can actually be more awkward than just accepting.
I find that compelling. That sense of welcome is just baked into everyday life. Does that same atmosphere carry over into the professional world? I mean, that's why most expats are there.
It absolutely does, but it gets more complex.
Because the offices are so international.
Exactly. They are true global melting pots. I mean, they often surpass the diversity you'd see in a typical London or New York office.
So you're talking about huge numbers of people from...
Here, all over. We're seeing massive teams of Indians, Filipinos, Egyptians, Pakistanis working right alongside large groups of Europeans and North Americans.
With a mix like that, what's the common language in the office?
It's English. English is the widely accepted common denominator for business.
So for meetings, emails, all of that.
All primarily in English. The language barrier in a professional context is surprisingly low.
Okay, and what's the actual work environment like? Is it super high pressure, sink or swim?
The sources consistently describe it as professional, yes, but also surprisingly relaxed and supportive.
More focused on results than bureaucracy.
That's the idea.
Huh.
But let's be totally candid about what's driving this whole global migration.
It's the money.
It's the money. The financial structure is the massive, undeniable benefit.
Let's put some real context on that tax-free income. What does that actually mean for someone's financial goals?
This is the high-impact insight. It's not just about a good salary. It's about accelerated wealth building.
How so?
When you remove income tax, national insurance, and deal with a very low sales tax, well, the average expat can just drastically speed up their financial runway.
So what kind of savings are we talking about?
The reports we've seen show that people who are managing their finances strategically are often saving upwards of 40% of their gross income.
40%. Right off the top.
Yes.
That's staggering. That fundamentally changes your career timeline. You're not just earning a living, you're shifting your entire retirement window.
Precisely. You're essentially trading familiar comforts for this unique financial opportunity in a very safe, welcoming place. And that calculation makes the other adjustments a lot easier to swallow.
Speaking of adjustments, here's where it gets, for me, really interesting. The daily clock of the big cities.
Hmm.
Places like Riyadh and Jeddah are described as super modern, very active. All the global amenities are there, right? High-end cafes, huge malls,
Oh,
gym.
they're ubiquitous.
Yeah.
The infrastructure is completely modern, but the tempo, the rhythm of life is totally
Oh,
different.
this is the late night society you mentioned.
Exactly. It's where culture and climate come together. People go out late, specifically after sunset, because the weather's just so much cooler then, especially in the summer.
I saw one account that said dinner at 11 p.m. is totally normal.
It is. That would completely upend the schedule for someone from, say, New York or London.
So how does that affect the workday? Do people start later or take a long break in the afternoon?
That's a great question. Some workplaces do adapt with slightly later start times, but more commonly, people just embrace a social and leisure life that peaks much later.
So seeing restaurants packed with families at 10 or 11 at night is just normal.
Totally normal, not an exception. It shifts the center of gravity for the whole city's economy towards the later hours.
That sounds vibrant, exciting even, but it definitely requires a mental reset.
A huge one.
So if you're heading out for that 11 p.m. dinner, let's talk logistics. How easy is it to get around?
Transportation is generally very easy and efficient.
A lot of people drive.
Many expats do, yeah. The roads
Yeah.
are wide and modern. But ride-sharing apps are incredibly popular.
So Uber is a big thing there.
Uber and the local equivalent, Careem, they're everywhere in the big cities and very reliable.
Okay, but if you do choose to drive yourself, is there an adjustment to the driving style?
Absolutely, yes. We have to include this note. While the roads themselves are great, the drivers can be fast.
Like aggressive fast.
Let's just say.
Mm.
Very fast. The pace on the highway, and even in the city, can be a bit aggressive. You need to be aware.
Okay, fast drivers noted. So let's shift from infrastructure to social life. If you arrive alone, how hard is it to build a network?
The sources all suggest it really depends on your own approach.
You have to put yourself out there.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
But given how multicultural it is, if you're open and you join groups, you can meet people very quickly. Both local Saudis and, of course, the huge community of other expats.
So what are people actually doing for fun? It's not all just late night dining in malls, is it?
Far from it. The variety of social opportunities is pretty extensive now.
Can you give us some concrete examples?
Sure. We're seeing descriptions of organized group activities, big music festivals, major concerts, and then the unique regional stuff.
Like what?
Think weekend desert camping trips, dune bashing, or heading to Jeddah for the beaches, and the world-class diving in the Red Sea.
So it's a very active life, just on a later schedule.
That's it, exactly.
It sounds like it requires some real adaptability. Which brings us to the core adjustments expats have to make. What are the big three constants they have to plan around?
The big three that come up again and again are the environment, the religious schedule, and the weekly calendar.
Okay, so first, the heat. That's a given. It dictates the whole late night routine.
Right. And second, prayer times.
How does that practically affect someone running errands?
You have to plan around it. Businesses, especially retail, will pause operations 5 times a day.
For how long?
Usually about 15 to 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
you just learn not to head to the cashier or start a crucial meeting right before a prayer window. Everything just pauses. Becomes a rhythm you get used to.
And the third major adjustment, the one that impacts global business, is the weekend.
Friday and Saturday. Not Saturday and Sunday.
The split weekend.
That's what they call it. For expats working with international partners, Friday is your day off. But Sunday often becomes a critical catch-up day because Europe and North America just started their week.
Adds a layer of scheduling complexity.
It does, but it's manageable.
We focused a lot on the positive side. Do the sources mention any major recurring frustrations beyond these logistical things?
That's a fair question. The experience is framed as overwhelmingly positive, but it implicitly requires a very high respect for local cultural and legal norms.
And beyond that?
The primary drawback cited isn't about restrictions or anything like that. It's often the sheer isolation from family back home.
Which is a universal expat challenge.
Exactly, compounded by a big time difference. But overall, the experience is consistently described as unique and really positive.
And how does navigating all this change a person?
The sources really emphasize the soft skills you learn. You're constantly dealing with people from every corner of the world.
So you're forced to develop patience, cultural respect.
Extreme patience, yeah.
Yeah.
And you learn how to genuinely connect with people and find common ground. Despite huge differences in background, you sort of become a global citizen by necessity.
So what does this all mean then? We've seen this experience in Saudi Arabia offers this unique mix of safety, hospitality, huge economic opportunity, and global connection.
All within modern active cities.
The adjustment is real, the late nights, the split weekend, the fast drivers, but the accounts suggest the benefits really seem to outweigh the hurdles.
And the key takeaway here is just how adaptable our routines are. The accounts we looked at all emphasize that despite these huge changes, the whole new routine becomes normal, surprisingly quickly.
That brings us to our final thought.
Right. So the provocative thought for you to mull over is this. Consider how rapidly a completely unfamiliar schedule, like a late-night culture or managing a split weekend, can be absorbed and normalized.
When the incentives are right.
Exactly. When the social environment is safe and the economic benefits are that compelling, it really highlights how fluid our habits are versus how constant culture is. The incentive to adapt is just that high.
That is a fascinating thought about adaptation. Thank you for engaging with this deep dive into the practical realities of expat life in Saudi Arabia. We hope this gave you a clearer, more honest view.
Until next time.